Mulligan. Hey, I just want to share a little story for whoever might be interested in people that like history or war stories. The most screwed up, messed up war story I've ever heard from the person that was in it firsthand. And this takes place during the Battle of the Bulge, which was, most of you know, was between America, the Allies, America and Britain, namely Canada and Nazi Germany in World War II, in the Ardennes forest in Europe, from December to January, mid-January, from December of 1944 to somewhere in the first, second week of January 1945. That's when this battle was fought. And it resulted in a lot of casualties on both sides. And if you want to know more about the Battle of the Bulge, there's lots of it available. Books, movies, internet. Alright, but this has to do with one man's experience there, an American soldier, that as an elderly, he survived the battle, and as an elderly man, he was staying at my mother's nursing home. And I'll tell you, my mom had a nursing home that she ran up into recent years, but started like at age 14. When I was 14, that's when she started nursing home. So I met a lot of veterans, war veterans, and I talked to them, all of them. I met veterans from World War I, talked to them, heard their stories. A lot of World War II veterans, including this one. Talked to, even when I was in Germany, I talked to German World War II veterans, a few of them. Got some of their stories. And, next it'll be the Korean War, then the Vietnam War, and after that it'll be my generation of soldiers in the nursing homes dropping off. But this was a man that stayed in my mom's nursing home. Not that long ago, really. I think this guy was around about 90. And he's kind of a salty kind of, sulky kind of person. And he liked his beer, and he wanted beer. He was used to drinking beer all the time, and the man was 90 when he came to us. And his children said there was nothing, they had nothing against him having some beer. His doctors didn't say that there was a problem with him drinking beer. My mother didn't want beer in her home, so that was the way it was. And so my friend and I, my friend was also an Army veteran like myself, Leon. Well, he was there with me, and, we took this man out for a drive with my mother's, we were taking him, I forgot where we were taking him, just taking him out for a drive to try to cheer him up, because he was pretty bummed out about his lot, being in a nursing home. And some people handle it well and some don't. And I think that's another story. Well, we talked about it. My friend Leon and I like beer, and we're both Army veterans. And this guy was an Army veteran. And we both said there's no reason why he can't have a beer or two. He served the country, he's 90 years old, his children didn't have a problem with it, his doctor didn't have a problem with it. Let's get this guy a couple of beers and drive around. We're not drinking, but drive around the countryside with him. Let him have a couple of beers, Get him out of the house. I want to make it clear, we weren't drinking. We're driving. So we just got him some beer and drove around and talked to him. And that's where I heard this story. And he was in the American, I believe, an infantry unit during the Battle of the Bulge. And he was pretty angry. And he wasn't so much angry at the Germans, he was angry at his own unit. And you'll find out why. He said it was really, his memories of that battle, it was very, very cold. And it was supposedly, I've read it, it was extremely cold at times. Snowy, deep freeze. And Americans were caught off guard initially. And their positions were overrun. And a lot of Americans were retreating, or taken prisoner, or getting killed, or making a last, some of them, like in Bastogne, made a stand. In this guy's case, it wasn't Bastogne. All I know is he said they were dug in It was cold, it was miserable. And one morning he woke up and his unit, all the people in his army unit were gone, except him. And there was a can of ammunition. They left him a can of ammunition, a couple of rations, food rations, and a letter by his company commander saying that they all moved back to the rear, like they took off. They left him there and went back to safer areas. He said the letter said his captain said that the unit had picked up and they'd gone back to headquarters, fallen back, and they left him there alone. And he said, "Good luck." I never forgot that. I think my friend was pretty amazed too. They left that guy alone in his foxhole, his whole unit, gave him a can of ammunition, a little more food, and a letter basically saying, "We took off, good luck." And this guy was pretty mad about this, understandably. And I said, "What happened next?" And he said, next thing you know, he saw a long line of Germans moving towards his position. What'd you do? He surrendered. There's a lot of them, hundreds of them, or whatever. He surrendered. He was taken prisoner. They marched him back to to become a prisoner of war. He'd only be a prisoner of war for 4 or 5 months. He said he got frostbite from the march. It was very cold on his toes. But, he was liberated in April or so and set free, so he wasn't a prisoner too long. I remember he said that they didn't have much food to eat, but he said the Germans didn't have much food to eat either. So he didn't really have a huge beef with them, per se, beyond anything normal. But he said he spent most of his life after that trying to find that company commander that left him that letter and abandoned him there. He said he spent most of his life trying to find out where that guy lived. And he said it was good he never did. He said he probably would have shot him or something like that. He was pretty upset about it. And that's the story. I've heard some pretty messed up stories. I spent 20 years in the Army, and I've heard a lot of other people's stories. And that's got to be the most messed up war story I've ever heard. And I'm sharing it with you here on my channel because you're never going to read about this in the books. You're never going to see it in the movies. It's just stuff people don't want to talk about, really. But, yeah. Well, that's it. I just wanted, for some reason, it was on my list of to-do things and to tell this story just because, in a dark way, I thought it was funny. I hate to say it. Like I said to my friend, wow, they must have really loved this guy, right? I wonder what he did. There's got to be a backstory to it, Obviously, they didn't leave him there alone to fight off all the, Germans, They didn't think he was some kind of a Hellcat, tiger warrior or something. They just left it there. There's got to be a backstory to this. I did not press the guy any further on this. He was upset. So we drove around for a while, and he had his 2 or 3 beers, and we went home. And he was really grateful to me and my friend for taking him out. And both of us were Army veterans, so I think that's why he felt comfortable opening up to us and talking. So, all right, that's all. Thank you, and good night.